Folks, it's a great pleasure to welcome Connie Galambos, the Social Equity Caucus Coordinator from Urban Habitat, to our program. Good to have you here, Connie.
Thanks, Timothy. Good to be here.
Well, folks, as you know, I'm a proud Golden Bear. Yes, indeed. Berkeley Bears, go Bears. And I graduated with honors, so I'm reasonably intelligent. But I've got to tell you, when I got to the Urban Habitat website, which is urbanhabitat.org, I felt like the class idiot. I could hardly get my arms around the many initiatives they're in. Connie, why don't you break it down for us? What is Urban Habitat? And maybe in 1 to 2 sentences, what is it you guys do?
Well, I'm a Berkeley Bear too, so don't sell yourself short, Timothy. Urban Habitat is a nonprofit organization. We're based in Oakland, but we work regionally across the 9 Bay Area counties. And our work really centers on making sure that everyday folks have the power to influence the planning and policy decisions that are shaping their lives.
Okay.
And we focus much of our work around land use and economic development. And we are multi-issue, as you noted from our website, because these things are organic and interconnected. And we're also multi-sector, which is unusual. We work with business partners. We also work with nonprofit partners and really run the gamut of non-traditional partnerships and relationships.
Well, what I found interesting, Connie, is that when you mentioned land use, and I noticed on the website there was a strong focus on below-market housing. So is your group involved in making sure land is set aside for this kind of housing and then bringing in the developers and, dare I say it, making sure people can have affordable housing in the Bay Area? What a frightening thought. Is that some of what you guys are doing?
That is some of what we are doing. We do have a program in transportation and housing. As we all know, those are two of the overarching issues that we're all struggling with every day in the Bay Area. In addition to that, economic development is a piece of this, and all of this is really tied to land use and making sure that cities have the land that is appropriate to use for what the residents need it for, and that we're able to do the type of planning to make sure that years down the road we still have the type of resources we need to support our communities.
At off-air, you were mentioning that you're also involved, if I understood, almost in green areas, parks. Is that another area for land use that you guys touch on?
Well, what we're really focusing on is that, of course, the Bay Area continues to grow, and wanting to make sure that that development really stays within areas where there's already existing infrastructure to support it, and thereby protecting the outlying areas that would be more of a buffer for the Bay Area. And we do this through our involvement with different planning around transit-oriented development work. We're also engaged in Richmond in a large initiative around the general plan. And for those of you who aren't from a planning background, a general plan is a guiding document that lays out the future policies that will guide the way that a community grows over time. And it's really an opportunity to do big visioning and then actual practical policies of how you're going to get to that vision. And so right now we are involved with, we have 4 different base building groups of community members in Richmond that we're working with. They're ACORN, Communities for a Better Environment, the Asian Pacific Environmental Network, and the Mayat Youth Academy. We've been going through an educational process over these months where we have just everyday folks that are now more experts in planning issues than I was when I graduated from planning school. And then we've also been going through a leadership institute with the decision makers in Richmond, with the department heads in the city, with city council members, with the new mayor, who's a green mayor in Richmond. And so through this, the community members and the decision makers are interacting with each other. They're learning about different policy alternatives that can lead to a more sustainable future for the city. And the areas in which we're focusing on are health, land use, economic development, housing, and transportation.
Wow,
so
that's quite an armful, I've got to say.
It is.
When there's a large amount of money being put out by developers saying, let me build here, there, and everywhere, how do you, as more of a, if I may say, a voice of restraint and thought and planning, work with that?
Well, I think it is a process, and that is the challenge because a lot of our municipalities are fairly constrained in their fiscal resources to be able to run really inclusive processes. And so we've been able, through bringing outside funding in and partnering with the public and private entities in the community, able to really give a model of what we think should be happening as other cities are struggling with these decisions that have major long-term implications.
Oh yeah.
And I think one of the greatest things to keep in mind too is that these are decisions that will really impact who has the ability to live in Richmond in the future. Is it going to be the people that have been there for generations, or will they be in Antioch or farther out as time goes on? And so it's a process of really bringing different folks to the table, hearing what their concerns are, identifying opportunities that can create some sort of balance and compromise. We're certainly not anti-development. We advocate for responsible development that balances the needs of the current residents with future residents that will be coming into a community.
Well, planning is obviously a difficult issue, not one that's easily understood. And could you tell us a little bit about your journal, though, and the educational materials you have for the teaching community that breaks it down, if I may say?
Definitely. We have a journal called Race, Poverty, and the Environment, and you can access it through our website. It is a print publication, and so twice a year it focuses on different issues that really bring together some of this multi-issue, multi-sector work. So for instance, the most recent edition focused on job quality and economic development, and really innovative projects and organizing initiatives that are going on across the country to increase job quality for particularly low-income people and people of color. The one before that focused on the green economy and looking at new opportunities that are coming online with our need to shift to a more sustainable energy economy. We also have generated a publication that's a comic book, and it's called How Did We Get Here? It's a regional history of the Bay Area, and we've used it as the base of curriculum for folks to just get a basic understanding of how do we look like in terms of land use planning here in the Bay Area? What are some of the migration trends, economic trends, and how do those play into what we see now in our communities here? And many of these publications are those that we use to do outreach for our regional coalition. Urban Habitat facilitates the only regional coalition that's focused on promoting a more equitable Bay Area region, and it's called the Social Equity Caucus. That is the body that I coordinate. We meet quarterly. We have ongoing projects around transportation justice and quality jobs, and it's certainly open. We're always trying to establish new relationships to further our work. We've been involved in local and regional campaigns on specific policies, and also on statewide campaigns. For instance, some of you might remember Proposition 54, which was to stop the collection of racial and ethnicity data for public services. And this was really something that crossed all of our issues, whether you were working on health, whether you were working on environmental justice. I mean, these were all, we just kind of rallied around this and really helped to make sure that that initiative did not pass. So the Social Equity Caucus is something you can also find on our website, and a great way to plug into some of the work that Urban Habitat is doing in the region.
Excellent. What do you want our listeners to do?
Well, you can visit our website. We'd love for you to subscribe to Race, Poverty, and the Environment. It's a great resource to have no matter what line of work you're in, just to learn about some of the issues nationally and what are potential solutions to those issues. Another opportunity to get engaged would be to join the Social Equity Caucus. Come to one of our quarterly meetings or events and be able to bring your voice to the many issues that we're looking at there. In addition, we have ongoing events. If you check into our website regularly, we'll have action alerts. You can subscribe to our Social Equity Caucus newsletter, find out what all of our different 70-plus member organizations are up to across the Bay Area. It's a great way to stay connected.
Final question for you. What really matters?
What really matters? I think lived experience and everyday folks being able to shape the decisions that are being made at the policy level, and the fact that everybody really knows these issues better than we think we do. I may have gone to school and gotten my degree in planning, but you know, the people who are living with the struggles of the housing crunch and struggling with their transportation to work every day, they're the voices of wisdom that need to be incorporated into these decisions.